Morning, guys. Welcome to this morning's trending. Today's show is brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code trending to get 10% off. Now, it seems like the world's becoming less mad, but hang on a minute, because this is way, way too late, isn't it? Let's head over to the UK. Let's not head over there because I'm actually sitting in the UK right now. UK suspends trade talks with Israel as Lamy calls Gaza blockade morally wrong and unjustifiable as it happened.
Therefore, today, I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement. We will be reviewing cooperation with them under the 2030 bilateral roadmap. The Netanyahu's government's actions have made this necessary. Madam Deputy Speaker, today, my honourable friend, the Minister for the Middle East, is summoning the Israeli ambassador to the Foreign Office to convey this message. The conduct of the war in Gaza is damaging our relationship with your government. And as the Prime Minister has said, if Israel pursues this military offensive, as it has threatened, failing to ensure the unhindered provision of aid, we will take further action in response.
I mean, come on. 21 months, bit late, really, isn't it, Lamy? Foreign Secretary tells Parliament that the Israeli government's aggression, actions and rhetoric are isolating the country from its friends and partners. 21 months. Thousands of children, women and men dead. I mean, this should have happened. This should have never have happened in the first place, considering that Netanyahu was propping up Hamas for a very long time as a reason not to give the Palestinians their own state. But 21 months later, you finally come out with this. I think someone in the House of Commons or the House of Lords, or I don't know, our house down the middle of our street, was shouted out about time, or finally, 21 months late. The UK has suspended trade deal negotiations with Israel in protest at Benjamin Netanyahu's government's blockade of humanitarian aid entering Gaza. On the surface, obviously take the win, and this is what we wanted, but 21 months after the damage is done. The tower has already been destroyed. The place has already been genocided and cleared. Then you can come in at the end and say, probably shouldn't be doing that. It's not very good, is it? It's a bit late. It's already been done. And this is a common theme that they're coming up with all the time, is that they're talking about things that we know should have been done from the very beginning. Trump's suddenly against Israel. He's not, clearly, obviously. It's all theatre. After the event, I mean, it's like coming out after it and some of the alternative media calling out Trump now and some of his administration after the event. That's no good. And yes, while that seems like a positive, and it is, whatever that might mean in the future, it's a bit late, Lamy. Earlier, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, "We're horrified by the escalation from Israel." I mean, what have you been doing for the last 21 months in the region, and reiterated calls for a ceasefire, hostage release, and the delivery of humanitarian aid? Lamy said the conversation front bench was refusing to confront the appalling reality of what is happening in Gaza and what the Netanyahu government is doing. I mean, the gall to say that after supporting it for 20 plus months, to say they're refusing it. These people are psychopathic. I mean, how does he look in the mirror at night, knowing that he comes out with that drivel? Starmer visited a branch of Lidl, that's good, doing a bit of shopping, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves in the afternoon to promote what they say are the merits of the country's new trade partnership with the EU. That's helpful. Popping along to Lidl with the secretary, with the Rachel from accounts. In the Commons, Starmer heralded a hat-trick of deals with India and the US and EU. So they've got different things going on. And obviously all the chess pieces are being moved around. Now this phase has been done. Tens of thousands of children dead, amputated limbs, never have a life that they would have had 21 months ago. If this happened at the very start, and if the UK and the US were not funding this, in February of this year, Donald Trump gave the Israeli military over $2 billion. And now to come out and say, probably shouldn't be doing that. Bit late, Donald. Bit late, mate. You sent them $2 billion a few months back. Still spending it. You funded it. And so did the UK. It's all very well saying this now. Once the money is sent, once the money is spent, once the damage is done. Isn't it? Moving on, Elon Musk. More pretend enemies, more fictional narratives. Now we know that Elon Musk has been speaking out against the eugenicist that is Bill Gates and Microsoft recently, and OpenAI, although they all collaborate. So magically, Elon Musk just appears at one of their events. So Elon Musk made a viral video appearance at Microsoft's annual developer conference. You're supposed to hate them. Despite being in a legal dispute with the software giant, this is how much of a farcical nonsense this is. So he is appearing here just chatting about how they should take advice from them and take their notes and feedback seriously. Last year, Musk sued Microsoft and OpenAI, a company he helped found. It's just nonsense, isn't it? Over his foundational contributions, he now runs XAI, which developed Grok, and a competitor, OpenAI's ChatGPT. It's not a competitor. They're working on different functions and they're going to join together in the end. This is how it works. Musk revealed at the conference on Monday, the 19th, that Microsoft's cloud computing platform will host Grok. So he's suing them on one hand, and everyone's going, he must be a good guy because he's suing the evil Bill Gates, who is evil. Absolutely. Been doing horrific things all around the world with so-called vaccines for a very long time. And IBM, who worked with the Nazis, facilitated their concentration camps, helped prop up Microsoft from the early days, and they still collaborate now. So it's all a eugenics, Nazi, mental agenda that hasn't really gone away. But they work together, but on the surface pretend to be enemies. Now, he said at a Qatar conference, and we've got the clip here, some things about Bill Gates and Epstein. Well, Elon Musk likes to go to St. Bart's quite a bit, and have a conceived children there called Romulus. Look into that, if you will. But here he says in this clip about Epstein's relationship with Bill Gates, and it's all farcical when you know underneath it all, they're all working together, literally telling you that they're collaborating.
To ask you about US aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him...
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know, you've said that already. I wondered...
Also,
and I'm just...
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well... He said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is: have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes, I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever.
So there you have it. I mean, I wouldn't trust. I think he's talking about Epstein with his kids, but maybe it's Bill. Either is not a good place to drop your kids off, really, is it? And I don't mean that in the other way. It's insane for him to be chatting like that there, and then you know in the background that they're working together and Grok's now going to appear on Microsoft's platform. It's utter nonsense, of course. And this is the way they play it. Lammy's coming out now and saying, oh, we shouldn't have done that, or that shouldn't be done. How evil is Netanyahu? What a baddie. When for 21 months you've been funding it. Same with Trump. And now these guys are pretending to be enemies. It's farcical. It's absurd. And it's this whole point of, I think it's David Brent said, and Gaz quotes a lot, much of the time. He says, won't they remember? And David Brent just goes, and they won't remember. Something along those lines. They think you are stupid and you will not remember what they've been doing for the last 21 months. It's insane. So moving on from that story, technology, now we're getting these fear-based information put out there that technology is going to shut down. And it could well do. If you look at these data centers they're building, when you actually realize what they are, they're actually almost like a trigger switch in your house for electricity. If the surge of electricity going to these data centers, these huge data centers, is not received right, or the data centers shut down, that surge of electricity will trip off all the electricity in and the power in the city to stop it exploding, basically, the same way it does in your house. So these data centers are actually functioning as trigger switches. Now, I'm not saying that was the intention, but that's how they function. So urgent warning to all 1.8 billion iPhone users who are probably reading this on their iPhone. Turn off the auto feature now. Hackers can hijack your iPhone, Mac, or even your car through Apple's AirPlay, thanks to a devastating set of flaws dubbed airborne. The team at Oligo Security discovered 23 vulnerabilities in AirPlay, which allow users to stream video, audio, and photos from Apple devices to other smart devices. After discovering all those flaws, tech researchers revealed 17 different ways that they could be exploited by hackers to remotely hack billions of devices that use wireless streaming technology. What do you think is going to happen when all of your stuff in your house talks to each other and they're sending different signals? And going even further, when they're actually the kids that are going to be adults tomorrow, I've got brain chips in and possibly mRNA technology in that talks to the machines themselves, and you're part machine, part human, biologically anyway. They can hack into that. They can hack into you. It's absurd. Again, it's probably a bit of fear. The technology is already out there. The 17 user presets different. The 17 users represent different ways of hackers can exploit AirPlay, each requiring specific software fixes to protect devices from threats like remote takeovers. That's the one you don't really want when you got your self-driving car. Data theft or malware spreading across networks. The airborne flaws allow zero-click attacks, where hackers can harm devices without any user action, such as Mac OS exploit that secretly replaces the Apple Music app with malicious code. So there you go. Lovely. So this is maybe a bit of fear there. I mean, everyone and their mother's got something Apple at their home. And if it's all talking to each other like a virus, that's why they call them viruses. That's why Bill Gates concentrates on computer viruses and human viruses, because it's a system that they understand. They're taking over the system, but they need to get this infrastructure in the network under the skin of humanity, and they have done with the internet and the way we all communicate at the moment. So Apple's in trouble. But if you look at the logo of Apple, of course, it's the knowledge of good and evil, the bite taking out the apple. I even saw yesterday doing some research that I think it's the main Apple store in London, I believe, is clearly in a Freemasonic building. It looks the replica of the Freemasonic Grand Lodge in London, right on the corner. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the opposite corner, but it's clearly what it is. It's the knowledge of good and evil, the bite out of the apple. And the tech now is becoming ripened. And these flaws aren't by accident, obviously. But there you go. Tech problems, tech issues. So we go back to the Middle East here. at the end here, again, this is way too late in the day. And I did wonder why Louis Theroux was allowed to make that documentary, which is a fantastic documentary about the Middle East that came out on the BBC. The MO has changed, although Gary Lineker's just been let go because after 20 plus years of being a good, loyal BBC soldier, if you can call him that, he's finally spoken out against the Middle East. It's allowed now, although he's been let go, but he's perfectly comfortable. So UK sanctions settler leader from Louis Theroux's BBC documentary. Daniela Weiss boasted that she has Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu's aides on speed dial. She's a very evil looking woman if you go and watch the documentary again, which is well worth a watch. The UK has announced it will sanction several prominent Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank, including veteran settler activist and head of the Machala movement, Daniela Weiss. No one really got underneath what was happening with those fires that seemed to be spreading and engulfing Israel about 2 weeks ago that everybody's forgot about now. I wonder if they were trying to cover something up there. I mean, what happened to that story? No one's talking about that. It was supposed to engulf the whole of the settlers, and that just disappeared. Weiss appeared in a highly publicised recent BBC documentary on the occupied West Bank, presented by British documentary filmmaker Louis Theroux. In this film, Weiss boasted that she can phone Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's aides any time. She's not a very trustworthy person. Seems a bit of a psychopath. She was filmed driving close to the boundary of Gaza in an attempt to reach it before being stopped by Israeli soldiers. So if she had them on speed dial, why was she stopped? Weiss always claimed there was no such thing as settler violence against Palestinians. She doesn't see Palestinians as human beings. When you look into the occult understandings of this, that's when you look into the 7 Noahide laws and realize that they apply to people, but they don't apply to them. They apply to you and I. I don't worship an idol. Really, don't worship your own God. Don't kill another human being, but they don't really see you as a human being when it goes to the top of upper levels. Clearly, they don't. Look what they're doing there. Through the film makers and presenter said her lack of concern for Palestinian lives seems psychopathic, was psychopathic, is psychopathic. The new UK sanctions also target Aliva Liba and Zohar Sabah, as well as 2 illegal settler outposts and 2 organisations supporting violence against Palestinian communities in the West Bank. Again, a bit too little, bit too late when you've ethnically cleansed the area for the last 21 months. And they've even tied it into Lamy there, switching the narrative up when it's way too late. It's all very well talking about it now, isn't it? And it's good that they're talking about it. It's fantastic. But what's the point in doing it after the event? Other than to save face. The UK and the US funded this with your tax money, with my tax money. They funded this carnage. You cannot come along afterwards and go, it's a bit evil, isn't it? 21 months into the evil being done. It's like sitting and watching a murder in a car park and at the very end going, you really shouldn't have done that. And yeah, I have to call the police now. I'm just watching it. You and 6 of your mates. It's just absurd. But they can now say that we did something about it in the end. Yes, you funded it to begin with. So it doesn't say what the sanctions are to this lady or what they will be. That's a bit vague there. The damage is already done. And that's where we're at with it. It's an interesting time if anyone believes that Netanyahu and Trump are actually having a pretend or a real fallout. Look at the Bill Gates, Microsoft, Elon Musk situation that we mentioned earlier. It's all pretend enemies after the event. They say these things, they don't care. They're laughing behind your backs. And the sad thing is they're laughing at their followers, those that believe in the faiths that they claim to believe in, which I don't believe they believe in at all, that they use. They are mocking their followers and their supporters. And what they're doing now is switching. So those that have supported, say, Trump for a very long time in the alternative media now need to switch their own narrative when it's way too late. You can tell someone's telling the truth a lot of the time, much of the time, some of the time, that it stays the same. That the narrative stays the same. Their point of conviction, their moral compass stays the same. If it flip-flops, they clearly don't have a moral compass. It's whatever they are told to do or gets them the outcome that they want, be it clicks, money, advertising. Who was telling you from the start that this was wrong? As if you need to be told. And who's flip-flopping now? These guys certainly are, because they funded it. It's absurd to even be going along with this stuff and believing that these guys aren't in on it. You funded it. Remember, $2 billion Trump gave the Israeli military in February of this year. The UK still supplies parts to Israeli jets. I think it's like 15% of the Israeli fighter jets that bomb the limbs off of children and women and men in the Gaza Strip are supplied by the UK. Yeah, just words, isn't it? And when it's too late and the area's been cleansed now, they're going to move in and obviously bring all their evangelical base in there so they're closer to this messianic end times nonsense. So on that uplifting note, today's show was brought to you by Iconic Coffee. You head over to shop.iconic.com, use the code trending for 10% off, and we will see you this afternoon, I think, when there's an update, trending afternoon update, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and goodbye.